finds a seam and bursts through. And Whitmore's on the move. Whitmore, a budding sprint superstar. Is Whitmore to crush Whitmore?
Whitmore's racing career spanned 7 years, earning over $4.5 million and multiple graded stakes victories. But our story doesn't start in the bluegrass country of Kentucky. It starts on the border of Arkansas and Oklahoma.
Well, I'm from the border of Arkansas and Oklahoma. I went to school at Pensacola, Oklahoma, and a lot of all the match races I went to were in Oklahoma. But I tell everybody I'm from the border.
For Ron Moquett, his passion for animals and sports led him down the path of becoming a teacher of horses.
I like the connection with the animals. I really enjoy being around animals of all kind, but horses have always been so noble and such a useful thing in my life, and I just wanted to spend as much time as I could, and I thought maybe being a coach to horses was pretty cool. I always say that our careers are on the backs of horses. They carry us wherever we go, and Whitmore knocked down a lot of barriers for us.
Success doesn't come without hard work and a strong team, and Whitmore needed a lot of special attention during his formative years of training. He got that from Ron's wife Laura and assistant trainer Greta Kunzweiler.
Ron bought him after the sale and shipped him up to us at Churchill, and he was at Saratoga at the time. And I'll never forget the first day he went to the track, that Greta and I were up in the trainer stand watching the boys gallop a set of babies in company.
Well, another one of our riders, Giovanni, was on him, and I was going in company. We're trying to get him to go forward, train like a normal horse, right? And he was like throwing himself down, going this way, going that way, and Giovanni, and he's like a good rider, like he has no problem with horses, but his helmet slipped down because of how forceful he was.
He wheeled, he slid to a stop, he froze up, he acted like he was gonna flip, he's bucking and kicking, and then the outrider came over to help, and he bolted and took off running to do the same thing over again. We were like, oh my God, what did Ron send us?
And while Whitmore was still learning the finer points of being a racehorse, his racing name was still being decided.
We ended up finding out that he was named after the lady that ran the farm where he was born, and she obviously was very pleasant, and her name was Melody. And so I think it's a cool name. It just didn't suit this horse, because the statement was he doesn't look like a male and he's not very pleasant. And he was a natural gifted athlete who could do things, if he set his mind to it, he could do things that others couldn't, and that put me in a reminding of someone else.
Wilbur Whitmore.
Ah yes, what a powerful name. Wilbur Whitmore, Ron's childhood friend. The pair met in the 7th grade while attending Pensacola High School and were teammates on the school's basketball squad.
That's all he cared. He said, "You're too short to be this bad and not hustle, son."
He found a way to get us all motivated.
That's right.
Yeah, Ron said he was just the freakiest athlete he'd been around, and he's like, now we got another one, I'm naming him after Wilbur.
Comparisons athletically was right on. Just as gifted an athlete as you've seen, and did everything that everybody else wanted to do, and it was hard, it was easy for him. And for whatever reason, his name is the one that come to mind whenever it happened, and I called him and got permission.
He told me, he said, "Whit, I got a horse, and boy, he reminds me a lot of you." Ronald said he was just a good-looking horse. I grew up in Fort Smith, Arkansas. I guess from kindergarten through 6th grade. In 7th grade, we moved to Pensacola, and that's where I met Ron. We were in 7th grade. We were just starting junior high. Yeah, and like I said, we played. Ron was a year older than us, but being Pensacola being such a small town, everybody's seen everybody, so we all merged together and been friends ever since. I think I played down in the post, and Ronald was the point guard, so he was the one issuing the ball. He was pretty good at shooting that long ball. Yeah, he really wasn't a real big guy, but that he had good handles, could handle the ball good, and he shot very well. Boy, he hated to lose. He was real competitive, and he worked hard at everything that he got involved in.
as you saw, Ron is an Oklahoma native and started training in 1997. And just a few stats. Let's just talk about Ron just for a minute, and then we'll get back to the star of the show. 905 wins, on the cusp of 1,000, which is a major career milestone, from 7,256 starts, and that has amassed over $33 million in career earnings. 10 graded stakes wins, 7 of those 10 have been from the star of the barn in Whitmore. Now, Whitmore has made 43 starts to the track, 15 trips to the winner's circle. 9 of those came right here at Oaklawn Park. He had 13 runner-up finishes, 5 thirds, and he earned over $4.5 million. He is a true fan favorite, and people would always come out in droves here to Oaklawn-Ron. Now, it's interesting that he was on the Triple Crown Trail as a 3-year-old, competed in the Southwest, the Rebel, and the Arkansas Derby, hit the board in all 3 before making an appearance in the Kentucky Derby. But what was it that he showed you that, you know what, let's not send him 2 turns, let's make him a sprinter?
Well, you saw his powerful hindquarters and how well he's built. He's built like a drag car. And as anybody with a promising 3-year-old will tell you, you owe it to your connections and the horse to try to see if he wants to do the classic distances. But he had a powerful burst going around, like in the Southwest, or I'm sorry, in the Rebel, where he was second to Cupid. And then whenever he was third in the Arkansas Derby, he had a powerful kick, but he seemed like he always was in trouble or couldn't sustain the drive. So we, coming off a layoff, we decided we were going to shorten him up, typical for me, to give him a short race first. Even if they run a marathon, I'll give him a short race first. And it was, the main thing was he did it so easy. He come back not tired, wasn't stressed that much, and I thought, man, if he could do this well and do it easily, he's going to do it a long time. So we decided we would keep him at that distance from that point on.
Well, that proved to obviously be extremely successful, as he won the Hot Springs, which, by the way, is now named the Whitmore, very appropriately. He won the Hot Springs in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. He was runner-up last year. He also went on to win the Count Fleet Sprint Stakes in 2017, 18, 20. He was runner-up in 19 and 21. But let's talk Breeders' Cup Sprint, as you were bound and determined like a rabid dog to get that victory. He competed in that sprint stakes, or in that Breeders' Cup Sprint, 4 times. First appearance was in 2017, when you look on his Equibase form, it says participant. So he got that participant ribbon in 2017 when he ran 8, but a much improved effort in 2018 to finish runner-up.
Yeah, it was a weird race the first time we went. That was actually the easiest group we ran against the first time, and he come to that race so good, and we were expecting huge things. I think he'd run off and won like 6 in a row, and was just overpowering horses, and we got a little shook, because we were like, why didn't he bring it, And I think what had happened is Whitmore's always playing games mentally, and I believe my decision of putting a rider that had never been on him cost me and the gamblers a bunch of money, because I think that Whitmore played mind tricks with him, and he wasn't ready for that. So I really think that's the reason we didn't perform as well the first time. And then I kept saying, well, we're gonna come back, because this is where the best ones are, and I think he's one of the best ones. If you tell me that there's 10 other sprinters in the world that's better than him, I won't enter him. But you couldn't say that, I didn't think.
Now, fast forward to Breeders' Cup 2019, where he rounded out the trifecta to run 3rd. But Let's talk about 2020 when it was at Keeneland, COVID. He got the victory at a whopping 18-1. Tell us about that day.
That day was designed for me. And I'm saying that because at the time I was under some weird medication and wasn't around people, and COVID, and oh, by the way, they're not going to allow fans. If
But
they
there were
would have,
still a lot of people there
yeah,
at Keeneland.
well, considerably. But if it had been a normal time, I wouldn't have been there. And I think it worked out to where, you know, the universe or God or whatever said, hey, we're going to make sure we clean out everybody so you can come and be there when you win the Breeders' Cup. Because I want to win the Derby, don't get me wrong, but coming from where I come from a match race standpoint, you know, the speed has always been fun. The sprint, whenever I first got into the industry, I wrote down the races that I wanted to win. And the very first race that I wrote down was the Breeders' Cup Sprint. The average person with common sense would be like the Breeders' Cup Classic or whatever.
Kentucky Derby.
But
yeah.
to me, the Breeders' Cup Sprint indicated you had the fastest horse in the world. And I wanted to have the fastest horse in the world. I just wanted to be able to say that. And, you know, that was surreal. And you know, they say when you reach a goal or a dream, the world slows down for a second. And whenever he made the lead and was drawn off, and I was like, oh, you know, there's no kids
You can
here.
say it. Go ahead.
I was like, holy shit, this is gonna happen. And I was, you know, that last 100 yards seemed like it was a movie or slow motion, and everybody's like, I got a lot of text and stuff and calls. Did you hear the call? Nope, I didn't hear anything. I was numb, and I saw things. It's like glimpses of things, but I was watching him, and then I wanted to make sure he'd come back, and then I wanted to get the hell out of there and get back to the barn. And so I did the press deal, the interview deal that we had to do, and I went to the test barn as he was leaving, and then went back and grazed him on the side of the mountain right there on where they ship all of us Breeders' Cup horses. And you know, for a fleet second there, I was holding the fastest horse in the world. And you know, that's today, if I get my butt kicked somewhere, I go back to that and say, well, look, at one time, we know we can do it. We know the recipe. Let's just, you know, keep working and doing right by horses, and it'll work.
Now, he went on to win the Eclipse Award 2020 Champion Male Sprinter. Did that solidify in your brain that I officially have the fastest horse in the world, even though you had won the Breeders' Cup Sprint? What was that moment like?
Yeah, it was really cool. You know, I mean, we weren't there. It was typical.
It was televised.
Yeah,
you know, it was virtual.
And they told us, you know, a day or two before, but they said you can't. They had to tell us because we had to get a congratulations speech because we weren't there. So I was like, yeah, this is how it works, you know. I mean, I'm not going to be able to be there, but that's fine. I probably wouldn't have won anyways. It was just awesome. And we spent that time immediately after they announced it. We went to the barn. I mean, it was really cool. Everybody else has to be with a bunch of people wearing a funky suit, and we was at the barn hanging out, feeding
You have more
peppermints.
suits than anybody I know. So.
It's a part of the job, but I'm telling you this, if you told anybody back here, the majority of the horsemen, that's out of their element. You know, they would rather be in the barn, and they would rather be with the horses and the people with the horses.
Very true. So after the 2020 awards went out for the Eclipse, he wound up running his last race in the Forego up at Saratoga, a track he was very familiar with, on August 28th of 2021. After a 5th place finish, unfortunately, he was vanned off. Can you tell us just how bittersweet that moment felt, and just what the emotions that were going through not only you, but also Whitmore is kind of like a team sport in himself, because it's you, it's your amazing wife and assistant trainer, Laura, Greta Kunzweiler, another assistant trainer, his groom. He is a team sport.
Oh yeah, I went to, this morning, I get up normal time and I went to thinking because I wanted to make sure I didn't leave anybody out, because there's some people here, or people that can't be here, that were just as big a part of Whitmore's success as anything I ever did. So I started writing thank you messages to everybody. And, I've got like 25 people that I was wanting to thank. The guy that helped me buy him is standing right up there. And, there's people that held him in in foot tubs and to be shod, and all this crazy therapy that we do. And, all of those people deserve as much or more than I do. So I wanted to make sure that even though they're not there, I'm thinking about them, and this is Whitmore's day, and he wouldn't have had it without you. And I was thinking about whenever his last race, which this is a testament to the safety protocols that we have in racing now. We don't get to hear about them, but every morning before a horse goes to the races, if he's going to compete that afternoon, there's a state vet, a commissioned vet, that checks your horse. He's not somebody that works for me. He doesn't work for Oaklawn or she. They come there and they strictly work for the state regulators, and they jog the horses, and they're there to protect the horse. So he was perfect and went to the race perfect, and then coming out of the gates, he kind of got a little bit bumped, which he does a lot of that himself because he's so big and he likes to fight. So, but he tore his shoe off. Well, Whitmore is tender, and we've had shoe issues with him to the point that he gets shot at a veterinarian clinic from 3 on up. So he was tender. So the jockey did the right thing because the shoe is off and he's tender, but he eased him back at the turn and took care of him. And wouldn't have had it any other way, but at the time, I didn't know the shoe had came off. Neither did the fans, neither did the crowd, neither did the rider, and neither did that state vet. So they did the right thing, and they said, don't move him. We'll pick him up in an ambulance and make sure until we know for sure there's nothing wrong with this animal. And so for a guy with no lungs to go running to go to my horse, it was very, I don't know how we made it, but by the time I got there for him to load on the ambulance, he wheeled around and kicked at the guy trying to load him. And I was like,
he's a kicker.
All right. We're okay. So we went back to the barn and we checked him out, and sure enough, that's what it was. But it was still a stressful time. And certainly we or the connections didn't want anything but good for him. And I thought, what does he owe us? He's done everything. What are you going to do? Does it make a difference if he wins the hot springs 5 times instead of 4? And at what point do we just say thank you and let him go on? And I know that he was sound and happy, and y'all saw him today. He's happy and lives to be hopefully 100 years old. But we got to. At the end of the day, it felt like we was being a little redundant.
So let's talk about those antics, because we heard Laura and Greta in that video clip say, what in the hell did Ron get us into? Throwing down that exercise rider, when you purchased him, but you got 2 amazing women that kind of were able to figure him out, calm him down. But we, as I mentioned to our Dawn at Oaklawn fans, that we got to see in his 6 furlong races, because we've got a great camera crew, that he would fire all guns blazing with those back legs at that assistant starting gate crew, because he did have some quirks of his own.
Oh, he's and that's the funny thing is, we'd school him in the morning and he was a perfect gentleman. And in the afternoon, he was
Game
like,
time, baby.
He was like, oh, they're watching, aren't they? And it's the good ones are really, really smart. We'd like to say that all horses are intelligent, just like we'd say all humans are. But, the good ones are really smart, and they know what to do, and they know. And Whitmore's intelligent, so he'll say, oh, that bugs you, huh? Okay. All right, I'm going to save this. This is cool information.
So, we were fortunate to get to see his wife and assistant trainer, Laura, ride Whitmore over here. And I had mentioned, some trainers do put cotton or sponges in horses' ears to kind of, as I like to say, drown out the mechanism, to kind of get them to, eliminate outside sounds, kind of get them to calm down a little bit. So that was one of the things that I know that you utilize in your barn. But the future for Whitmore kind of has a big question mark. If he is, can he come down enough from such an illustrious racing career to potentially be a stable pony? Because thoroughbred aftercare is so near and dear to so many trainers and owners' hearts, whether what their second career is going to become. Is it going to be a hunter jumper? Is it going to be a stable pony? Because I know that would be an amazing career for Whitmore. Or is it going to be a peppermint eating lawn ornament? Nobody knows. But
I don't know.
In a perfect
I have no
world,
idea.
what would it be?
In a perfect world, I would think the best thing is to utilize his athleticism and to give him something to do. These animals, the smart ones especially, really want a job. They don't want to sit around, and if they can stay busy, it seems like they're happier. And I would say that if he could have a job like being a dressage horse or something like that, it would be the best thing for him. And I can't imagine. I would like for him to be a Chindi modeled pony, which that would be cool, or Lava Man. And I don't know how, those guys are great horsemen that have them. But I don't know how they would get those guys to be okay with going to the pole and not saying, I can kick your ass, I'll go too, And
Maybe just during the morning.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe just during the morning.
But
let's not hear a starting gate bell.
Well, see, like with him, these guys, these horses are creatures of habit, and we have to teach them things and allow them to learn in their way. And as far as the cotton, he is very sensitive. These are prey animals. They run in herds. They are more sensitive to sounds than humans. So whenever we walk a horse through the paddock and we have their ears, it's because somebody could be over there going, oh, that's my horse, and clap a couple times, and my horse goes, oh, it's going to eat me. And I don't want them to be, and they hear it like a lot easier than you think. They hear everything. I can walk through the barn and I can rattle a paper in my pocket of a peppermint, and I'll have 20 heads come out.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So their sense of hearing is there for a reason. It's there to protect them out in the through out being in the wild and stuff, but they still have it. So he is very sensitive, and we'll let him write that story. Laura, he wouldn't be where he's at without Laura and Greta, so they'll get to tell the story.
Well, now you've obviously developed a very close friendship with our general manager in Wayne Smith, and he trains for the Oaklawn president in Louis Sella. So we have renamed the barn in rightful reasoning. Ron was originally stabled in the Count Fleet barn, which he only won that 3 times. So it was fitting that Whitmore, the barn he was stabled in, be renamed Whitmore, but also to have the Hot Spring Stakes named after Whitmore. Were you told that information, or was it surprise?
It was a surprise.
How did that come about?
It was a surprise. And, we jokingly said we was going to keep winning the Hot Springs until they changed the name.
Well, I think you did.
And we always said it. And, the last one picture's got everybody in it's holding 4 fingers up. And there was somebody chanting up here. I mean, he's got some fans that are pretty glorious. They mimic him. And they were like, change the name. And anyways, we were pumped up. But whenever they did it, I got it in a text and said, we wanted to tell you this before the press release went out. And man, I was driving and I pulled over. I thought, what an honor for somebody that appreciates Oaklawn, appreciates horse racing. I know what it takes to have a barn named after you. There's been some really good horses.
And while the horse is still living, no less.
And he's walking in a barn named after him. That's that's crazy cool, and I don't care who you are. I've never been a guy that wants to win the meet. I don't care about that. I'm not a high percentage guy. I don't care about that crap. All I care about is that my horses get the recognition that they deserve. And whenever that happens, that's like me winning 2 meets in the Derby all at the same time. That was huge.
So obviously today we are celebrating Whitmore Day. The Hot Springs has been renamed, and it is now a grade 3.
Yeah,
that
what's
makes
up
it.
with that?
I mean, duh, that makes it even more special.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it's going to be interesting because, we were fortunate enough to see Whitmore. I hear he's doing 2-a-days. That's old school.
Yeah.
That's old school right there.
He will until we get a good hold on him. Now, he's got a lot of energy, and he's still in transition to where he thinks when he sees somebody coming up, he's like, am I going to kick his ass or am I going to kick his ass? And
I'm taking you downtown.
So we need to, to work with him. But, like today, they told me yesterday that today there's only 2 graded stakes races run in North America, and they're both run right here. And one of them is the one named after Whitmore. I will be, pumped up all day for that.
So there is a complete itinerary rundown for what's going to happen for the Whitmore Stakes, and it kind of all is surrounding the thoroughbred Whitmore, whether or not, he's going to be the last horse that comes on the track following the horses that will be competing in the Whitmore Stakes. Whitmore will be in the winner's circle. Vic, our track announcer, will give his elusive resume page, and I think that is going to take quite some time because of what he has accomplished. It's going to be interesting whether or not Whitmore, and I think it's going to be up to him. It's not going to be up to Ron. It's not going to be up to Laura. It will simply be up to Whitmore whether or not he is going to lead the Outriders in the post parade.
We have a saddle towel, so we're prepared. We don't have a number on it, so we're definitely not running. But we're gonna try to lead him, or allow him to lead the thing. The first and foremost, we do not want to take away from today's participants. This race that they're running in is a potential for them to be a graded stakes placed or winner. So we do not want to take away from that race. And the thought of us getting an ovation or something that may scare the other horses, that comes into play.
Because he's used to it.
Yeah, he don't mind. And he'll have cotton. But, I don't want to do anything that takes away from what these horses are trying to accomplish today. And but I also am pumped up about giving Whitmore his day. So we're gonna play it by ear, and we're gonna take about the horses first, obviously us, Whitmore, and then the other participants. So we'll play it by ear.
So here's the $1 million question: is the Whitmore, meaning Wilbur Whitmore, going to be here?
He says he is. So he gave me a text yesterday, asking me where to park. So, I mean,
Wayne, can we get the Wilbur Whitmore of Parkins? Okay, yeah. We've got confirmation that the Wilbur Whitmore, the namesake.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to be pretty jacked. He's got a barn named after him. He's got a stakes named after him.
You remember Babe Ruth pointing to the deal before the home run, right?
Yeah.
So I'm the worst guy at handicapping. I'll tell people, hey, I like my horse today, and he'll stumble coming out of the gates and run last. And I'm like,
You're
I'm sorry.
Anchor?
Yeah.
I'm an anchor.
So, but when I called Whit and said, hey, Whit, this is Ron. He goes, hey,
Ron who?
He goes, hey, everything okay? No, he called me Ronald because when I was growing up,
we saw that in the video.
everyone calls me
Ben
Ronald.
pointed that out.
So he said, everything all right? I said, yeah. He goes, what's up? I said, I got a crazy deal. And he said, what? I said, I want to name a horse after you. He said, a racehorse? And he grew up going to match races with me. I said, yeah. He said, why? I said, because he's fast and he's pretty. And he goes, and I said, I'll make you a deal. If you let me name the horse after you, I'll fly you to the Kentucky Derby. Now, this is before his first race. I said that to him. He goes, in typical Whitmore style, he's like, all right, bet, done. We'll do that. And whenever we run third in the Arkansas Derby, and we'd already run second, we had enough points, so I texted him how many tickets do you need, and whatever. He goes, oh man, you serious? Like, he couldn't believe that we were actually doing it. And that was a huge deal for me to have my compadre come up and go to the Kentucky Derby, and he hadn't seen anything. And if you get a chance to go to the Derby, I don't care who's described it to you, it's not a good description. You got to walk down the front side.
Yep.
You got to feel the energy. It's not just the people. You got to feel the energy. It's like sound waves coming off you.
Did he do the walkover with you?
No,
Okay.
he walked over early.
Okay.
But and there was only about 3/4 of the people there, and he was amazed.
I bet.
But it was very cool to see him up there, and for me to be able to say I called the shot, you know. So I got to find another horse that's like that and get another friend and call it, because
I think you have lots of friends you can name horses after.
Yeah.
So obviously today is not only just named after Whitmore, but Oaklawn is giving away free Whitmore t-shirts while supplies last. But I didn't know until I just read this yesterday, he's got his own baseball card.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So he is also giving away, Oaklawn is giving away Whitmore baseball cards. I think that is awesome as well. And I think that you and Wilbur should sign these baseball cards and give these, donate these to the Arkansas Racetrack Chaplaincy Bash,
Be
which
honored
will
to.
take place next Friday night.
We'll be happy to do that. If anybody wants them, I'll do it for sure.
I think that would be amazing. So congratulations, Ron. This is such a huge accomplishment. A huge thanks to management as well, and also to Wilbur Whitmore.
Yeah, no, it's cool, and we're honored, and we're thankful that everybody came, and you know, it's perfect sunshine today. This is the first day of a Saturday. We're going to get credit for the huge crowd because we're taking it, but it's probably because this is the first Saturday that it's been sunny since the start of the meet.
Yeah.
But we're gonna accept all the accolades.
All because of Whitmore,
That's right. That's
and
right.
a huge thanks to his lovely wife, Laura, who was nice enough to parade Whitmore just for our Dawn at Oaklawn fans. So everyone, please give a huge Whitmore round of applause for trainer Ron Moquett.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron.